Women themselves are the biggest threat to women's sports. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about WNBA basketball player Brittney Griner yet again. This time, she's not in the news for being locked up in Russia, for having a backpack full of weed on the airplane. No, it's not that. She is back here in the US of A, free as a bird, speaking at a press conference or some kind of post-game, post-practice thing about certain social issues, namely the idea of quote-unquote trans women competing against biological XX women in sports. She approves of the idea. She says the idea is great, although it's most certainly not for most women. Okay, I think most regular normie women don't like the idea of a biological XY male bashing them in the head, breaking the skull in MMA, or doing some 360 dunk in basketball. Okay, I don't think they like that too much, but apparently she's all on board for it, and that's part of the problem. I'll talk more about that a little bit later, but first, let's go ahead and watch the news clip. If you want to see the clip in full without my commentary, link as always will be in the description. If you're on IG, visit the link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Good morning, Brittney. I'm Bill Roden from ESPN Anscape, and it's really great to see you. It's good to know the prayers have been answered. The question, you've always represented so much throughout your entire career about access and, you know, being able to do stuff. And I hate to put one more thing on your plate, but there are a number of states who are aggressively moving to prevent transgender athletes playing. And I was wondering, again, I hate to put one more thing on your plate, but in terms of on your radar, where is that? You're going to have a tremendous platform, but where is that going to be on your radar in terms of advocating for, athletes, all athletes, transgender athletes, to be able to play?
Oh, I mean, that ranks high on the list of things that I'll be fighting for and speaking up against. You know, everyone deserves the right to play. Everyone deserves the right to come here, sit in these seats, and feel safe and not feel like there's a threat or they can't be who they are or like it's just all eyes on them. So I think it's a crime, honestly, to separate someone for any reason. So I definitely will be speaking up against that legislation and those laws that are trying to be passed, for sure.
Ridiculous, totally ridiculous. Can we just break that down a little bit? Okay. She says that it's a crime to separate anybody because of anything. So you think it's a crime to have the WNBA then, right? The WNBA is for women and the NBA is for men. Now, last I checked, there was no law that prevented you guys from trying out for the NBA. Why is there a WNBA? Because obviously women cannot compete at the same level as men when you're talking about NBA basketball. Now, if we're talking about some other sport, ice skating or something like that, gymnastics, okay, it's a different story. But NBA basketball, there's no woman in the WNBA would make any NBA team. Not even at the end of the bench, nothing. They could not compete against the men. I'm not trying to attack women. I'm not trying to say women are just inferior. I'm just speaking about this particular situation. They cannot do what the men do. Just like men cannot do some things that women do. All right. Like, I don't know, produce life, have a baby. You understand what I'm saying? Breastfeed, all these things. Now, you got guys trying to do it, obviously, but it ain't going to work. But that's a different story, and I digress. Now, the reason why I'm still right here on this freeze frame and I've not gone back to the full screen is because some are going to just say, hey, man, you know what? She wants to have men play against women because she's a man. I don't think she's a man. She's just extremely masculine. Okay, she's very, very masculine. She's 6'8". The short hair, even with the dreads, it didn't look much different. Tattoos all over the place. She's just very masculine, okay? Not a man. I mean, you see Brittney Griner play, you could tell this is not a man. If you are 6'8" as an athlete, a basketball player, you can dunk with no problem. I've seen guys that are 6 foot tall, below 6 foot, 5'8", that can dunk with no problem. 6'8", you should be doing LeBron James type stuff, okay? In your late 20s, early 30s, however old she is. This girl can dunk a little bit, but barely. Barely, okay? This is not a man. This is a woman still. This is what I'm talking about. Yes, she's masculine. Yes, she has that type of affect to her. But at the end of the day, take a masculine woman and put them in the NBA, they're still going to be a woman at the end, like regardless, okay? I've seen women that look just like this have a baby. So just being masculine, having the male appearance does not make you a man. Same way that if you are a man with a more feminine appearance, it does not make you a woman. You're not going to all of a sudden grow the ability to have life and menstruate and things like that. You're not going to do it. You don't have those abilities. We're different. Men are different than women, and we got to be able to respect that, which is why you have certain spaces that are for men only and for women only. And when you try to blur the lines, it's a problem. And you know what? This is what I said from the beginning. Women themselves are the biggest threat to women's sports because they need to be the ones speaking out against this. You have a bunch of biological XY males who now identify as women infiltrating women's sports and dominating. We've seen it over and over again. I just saw a biological XY running over there in London, dominating the women. And then, of course, you have Leah Thomas, the swimmer, who was mediocre at best as a biological XY male, competing as a male. And then he identifies as a woman, still as a biological XY male, and he's dominating the women. You go from mediocre at best or subpar, below average at best, to now a champion. And we've seen it over and over. MMA, basketball, swimming, running. I mean, at a certain point, you're going to have all these biological XY men who identify as women, and there's no way to really tell if they're being serious or they're just trying to get a competitive edge. How are you really going to tell if a guy is truly about that transgender life, or if he's just trying to get an edge and trying to become a champion? If he's just trying to make a point or troll, how do you really know? And at a certain point, it's all kind of the same thing. And you know, the best way to eliminate that possibility would be to have the actual biological gender separate. I don't care how you identify. You could be Dennis Rodman wearing the wedding dress the night before the game. Okay, you got a full-on wedding dress, makeup, wig, all of that. But guess what? When it comes time to play the game, you go out there on the court and you play hard against the men, rather than saying, you know what, I got a wedding dress on. Yeah, I'm 6'8". Yeah, I'm a man. Yes, I got all my biological parts, but I'm going to compete against the women. That's totally ridiculous. It shouldn't be happening. And women themselves are the biggest threat. As I close, I want to say this. We saw an example of this when you're talking about Drew Barrymore and Dylan Mulvaney. Remember that? Where he was on her show and she got on her hands and knees basically praising this guy while he has on all his female affectation. I don't even know what the pronouns are. I don't know if he identifies as transgender or male or female. I don't know what's going on. I have no idea. But my point is that Drew Barrymore was praising this individual, and so were the women in the audience. But if the women want to stop this madness from happening, then they got to be the ones to speak out, because it's affecting them and not us as the men. Because although there are trans men, women that identify as men, they're not trying to compete against us. They're not coming into our sports and dominating as they are with the women. It'll take women to stand up and fight against this. And if that's not happening, then this trend shall continue. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about what Brittney Griner said here? Was she on point, off point? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. This is the problem. When women like this say stuff like this, the infiltration of women's sports will continue until it gets to the point where there are no more women's sports, where it's only biological XY men competing in everything, and there's no space for biological XX women. It's unfair, it's not right, and it's got to stop right now. And we all know who is responsible for stopping it. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.